Community meetings were held in Parks, New South Wales this week regarding an energy from waste facility. It's part of Parks Energy Recovery, which claim this is proven technology that turns waste into electricity. This particular system aims to divert 600,000 tonnes of waste annually and generates 60 megawatts of energy, enough to power 80,000 homes with a capital investment of $1.5 billion. Well, the community is divided on this, and we have been investigating the pros and cons of this proposal. And joining us live is Jane Bremmer, the chair of Toxics Free Australia, who has around 25 years of experience in toxic waste. Jane, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, can you explain how this system works?
Well, the proposal for Parks is a mass combustion incinerator. So essentially, the trucks bring the waste to the facility. They put it into the hopper, the claw picks it up, and it puts it into what's called a moving grate process, where the waste rolls down a grate as it's burnt. And as it does that, some materials fall through and form the bottom ash. As that's burnt, and it obviously generates lots of toxic emissions, the main part of the incinerator, as you're showing there, is the air pollution control unit. It's the biggest part of the incinerator and the most expensive part, and that's the part that captures all of the dangerous air pollution. And what the filters there capture is what's called fly ash, or air pollution control residues, flue gas residues. This is the really toxic part of the ash. And then they generate steam from this, which turns turbines and creates electricity. So there are, yes, while the waste goes into the facility, is mostly destroyed, all it's really doing is reducing that volume of waste down to a quarter of its original volume. And
Right.
what's left is really highly toxic ash.
I contacted the EPA and Parks Energy Recovery, Jane, and I asked them, are there any nanoparticles in the emissions? And their response is, and I'll read exactly what they said to me, most of the emissions from an energy waste facility are made up of components found in normal air. About 20% of the volume of emissions is steam, which you may be able to see during cold weather. Emission of any compounds that are considered a pollutant make up much less than 0.1% of the volume, are strictly controlled and will be monitored closely by the New South Wales EPA. What would you say to those comments?
I think that they're dangerously reckless to say that to the community, because that is not the reality of existing plants that are operating around the world. It only takes very small amounts of persistent organic pollutants like dioxins to be harmful to human health. But to suggest that incinerators just emit steam, I mean, it's an absolute nonsense. They emit a range of dangerous substances like heavy metals, persistent organic pollutants, as I mentioned. The pollution from incinerators is the subject of at least 3 international conventions. That's how serious the air pollution is. We know they emit PFAS and microplastics and nanoplastics and brominated dioxins. So it's and huge amounts of nitrous oxides and acid gases. So I think the response you're getting there is highly misleading.
You've written to politicians. What has been the response?
Well, we haven't got a good response from the politicians, frankly. I've written to all of the cabinet ministers, and I got a very short response from their agency, not from the ministers themselves. And they just refer me back to their national waste policy. Now, there's a big contradiction in policy here in Australia. We've got the federal government acknowledging that waste-to-energy incineration is not part of a circular economy, and yet we have the states enshrining waste-to-energy policy and waste-to-energy incineration into their circular economy policies and their legislation, and rolling out a massive waste-to-energy infrastructure program. So there's a big inconsistency between what the federal government's saying and what the state governments are doing.
Yep.
And this is leaving communities in a really bad situation.
They've been banned from other parts of the state. We're running out of time, unfortunately. They've been banned in the ACT. We've got a graphic to show our viewers about a petition from Chris Bowen's election, the Ministry for Energy and Climate. There we go there. Stop the Western Sydney incinerator again. So why are they banned in some parts of the country and not others?
Because obviously these states and these other countries have done their due diligence and looked at the reality of these technologies. I mean, what the companies say they emit isn't matching what's being found in the environment. And across Europe, they're finding pollution widespread around these plants. And the ACT was wise enough to look at that and take a precautionary approach.
Yep.
The Netherlands has placed a moratorium. I mean, this is really an industry in decline around the world, and they're looking for new markets, and they've come to Australia.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but do these projects emit more emissions than coal?
Yes, they do. At least 1.5 times the amount of climate pollution incinerators emit, and twice the amount that gas emits. So they're not climate-friendly technologies. And the suggestion that we should replace coal and gas with waste is an absolute delusion. It's more polluting, more climate polluting, more toxic air polluting. It's more expensive. It is not the future for energy in Australia.
Well, we've actually contacted the Mayor of Parkes. We had him on Sky News Breakfast yesterday and spoken to numerous people in Parkes. They are ready to move, and we're going to hear more on this today and over the coming weeks. Thank you so much, Jane. Great to see you.
Great. Thank you for covering the story. Appreciate it.